Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon if you are around where Teresa is. Welcome to the Great Commandment Comics Anthology interview series. My name is Jack Holder. I am a contributor and the editor for the Great Commandment. And I am so excited to be here, coffee, and with two creators here for Warrior Breed. We are talking about who Eddie Headington and Teresa del Pilar are, as well as this amazing anthology. So, let's talk about the Great Commandment, what it is, who we are, and why you definitely should be clicking the link that is showing up right now at the bottom of your screen. Every day we get commands that try to filter into our lives and guide us through life. Commands that can be as grand and as expansive as love your neighbor as yourself, or we the people in order to form a more perfect union, to the mundane of go to your room, please do the dishes, and actually pick up your clothes, to the moving fandoms of live long and prosper and be excellent to each other. But just as those commands affect our lives, so too are we affected by the question of, yes, but what does it all mean? When we say be excellent, what does that mean? How excellent, and who is each other? Well, in the Great Commandment anthology, you are going to actually find the answer. With over 160 pages from more than 24 comics, we have answers talking about the way life is, the way it could be, and maybe even how it should be. From Cows Tippos talking about the suffering of life, to the unspoken rules of a train ride, to storytelling structure extending from all the way up to the gates of Valhalla, all the way to the atrocities at the southern US border. And one of my favorites, of course, is when a corgi becomes a samurai defending his home. And if you are really interested in that particular one, we have the writer and one of our artists right here, and we are going to talk with them today. So let's ask Eddie Headington, who are you, what's going on, and what is your comics history?
Hello, I'm Eddie Headington. I'm talking to you from Tacoma, Washington. I've worked previously on Cthulhu's Hard to Spell. I've worked on your last book, Why Faith, and I have edited a couple anthologies myself, Monster Mashup Volume 1 and Heroes Need Masks. And we're working on the second volume of Monster Mashup now.
Wonderful. And we have one of your artists here as well, Teresa.
Hello.
Hello.
Teresa,
sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm talking to you on a phone. I'm actually at work right now.
Oh, sneaky.
Yes. Teresa is coming to us from Europe and is a very accomplished webcomic artist as well with Graduation Nightmares. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your own works, Teresa?
Well, my name is Teresa, however you want to say it. I live in Madrid in Spain. I am Spanish, and I'm the author of the webcomic Graduation Nightmares and also a freelance cartoonist. I've been contributing to several publications, including 4 anthologies, and this is one of them. And yeah, I do cartoons and I like drawing animals, especially, as you can see in this comic.
Excellent. And we've mentioned this, people's ears are probably getting perked up with the idea of samurai corgi. So let's ask, because I know that this was a very collaborative piece. Can we talk about Warrior Breed, what it is, and how it came to be? Teresa, can we start with you?
So Eddie and I got in touch, and I can't remember how. It's one of those internet things. I think it was maybe on a forum or on Facebook or something. And he presented to me a script about I think it was a mermaid, and I liked it, but that was taken by another artist. So he says, "Look, I'm out of scripts, but I would really like to collaborate with you." And I was like, "Okay." I like drawing dogs, and I like drawing, fun things and action scenes. And he said, like, "Okay, I can work with that." I think that was basically how it happened, and the rest is Eddie. And I have to say, it's not a corgi; it's an Akita Inu, which is a Japanese breed.
Thank you.
But they look very alike. They look very alike. So you are forgiven.
I will adjust my terminology because I use samurai corgis way too much in promo material.
No, it's okay. My neighbor has an Akita, it's really cute. That's where the whole thing came from. And because it's a Japanese breed, I thought, oh, Japanese breed, samurai.
Perfect. Eddie, can you talk a little bit about Warrior Breed? Because I know you wanted to take commands in a very different direction than what people might typically think they were about.
Yeah, well, I really like to step outside my comfort zone. So writing a story with animals was definitely outside of my comfort zone, and it was very freeing. It was something very different, and it took me a while to come up with the idea from it. And I actually got the idea from an old sci-fi story about it starts off with a creature who's there to protect another being, and it turns at the end, and it's an animal protecting their owner. So I remembered that, and I thought, hey, I could probably use something like that. And then it just all came naturally after that. Sorry, gosh, I'm very bad at explaining these things. I'm sorry.
It is perfectly okay, Eddie.
I get really nervous, and I kind of lose track. So I hope that was a good answer.
It was. And so what I see reading Warrior Breed is an Akita defending his home against perceived intruders. And without getting too far into this really fun story, you have a ninja cat and a giant and trying to do battle with them while defending your homeland. Something that is, first off, it's gorgeous artwork. Teresa, you and Sam Prowse really brought your A game for this, because
Thank you.
You look at it and you're both actually feels exactly what you would want with a Far East influence, but at the same time, animals. Seemingly simplistic color scheme that draws you in and makes you feel a lot more comfortable while going on with high-minded ideas. The art of war is quoted constantly. Can you describe the art process for that?
Well, it was actually a little bit unusual the way we did it. Sam and I have collaborated through a comic collective called the Comic Jam. and we did a few 1-pager, 2-pages collaboration, and we were just playing around with, oh, you do the inks this time and I'll do the pencils, or you do this, I do that. So just collaborating and seeing what we enjoyed and what we preferred. And when we came to this comic in particular, I told him I like drawing dogs and I like drawing characters. Like if you look at my Instagram, it's basically all characters. That's what I enjoy. But he enjoys backgrounds. If you look at his Instagram, it's all backgrounds, gorgeous backgrounds that he makes. And I said, so how about I do the character art, you do the backgrounds, you ink it, and I color it. And they're like, okay, let's try that. And that's the process we did. I did the characters first, then he did the backgrounds on the inks to put it all together with one piece of line work that was coherent, and then I did the colors. And we were jumping between programs as well, because I use Clip Studio and Photoshop, and he used Procreate on the iPad. So it's like a complete mix of techniques but it's easy working with him. He's a very easygoing guy, and yeah, it was fun. It was actually really fun.
So for the writers here, that sounded complicated.
No, it wasn't actually. It was pretty natural. We had a Dropbox folder, and I did I did the thumbnails as well, and then he revised the thumbnails, and then Eddie revised. Yeah, it was quite complicated now that I think about it. But at the end, when you do these very collaborative pieces, it takes longer. But the result, in my opinion, it's more pleasing to everyone, to the writer, to the artist, to the colorist, to everyone. Actually, I did the colors and then yeah.
Well, what we did with it, which it's a process that I really enjoy doing, is you do pencils, and then I actually do the pencils, and I blow it up and put it in, and then I letter them. So then they can look at the letters and see if they need to change anything around or see if anything works, and then you move on from there. So actually, when she can give me the pencils, I can actually turn around a quick lettering, by the next day. So it's a really cool process that I've been doing the past couple projects.
Yeah. It was almost like a bullpen, but digital, because we were using this Dropbox folder to pass along the work, and everyone was contributing something. Like I do the pencils for this, Eddie did the rough lettering. Then we could visualize how it was all going to look on the thumbnails. So it was just going back and forth and just communicating. It was fun. I enjoyed the process, even though it was, if you think about it, a lot of back and forth. But I think that's what true collaboration is about. It's about that process of sharing and getting input from everyone at every stage. It's slow, but it's more fulfilling, in my opinion.
And that actually raises a major question. Eddie worked with me on my first anthology, Why Faith, but then we've had the Great Commandment, and I can definitely tell you that just because of coronavirus, the creative process was massively different. But was the fact that you guys were constantly internet-based, did that make it not as disruptive as it could have been?
Yeah, I suppose for me it wasn't disruptive at all. I'm used to, like, when I have to deliver something, it's always like a Dropbox file, and I kind of know the ropes of how to work with companies overseas or in other cities. So for me, it wasn't too different. I don't know if it was for Eddie.
Eddie?
So clarify the question.
How did coronavirus and everything change the creative process, or did it not?
The creative process. Okay. Shoot. Yeah, it's definitely had its effect. It's kind of kept me away from my computer a whole lot more. So that's probably how it's affected it. But it's been leaving me alone with my music and stuff. So I guess there's a give and take with that.
Absolutely. So for me personally, it's just the very new world of COVID has dampened creativity for me a little bit more. I knew I started feeling that in April, and deadlines for this anthology was supposed to be at the end of June, and I immediately was like, this thing's not going away. Something's going to give. We're going to push this back a month. Just because. And I'm pretty sure Eddie and Teresa were immediately like, but we can still turn it in June, right?
Yeah, I don't think, for me it wasn't an issue. I don't know if for Eddie it was.
Yeah, I think we had it done early. My only concern is when I do my final letters, I go through about 20 different versions before I finalize, usually all the way up till I turn it in. So, but it was done a month early.
Yeah,
Probably.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit of a procrastinator, I think that is a word. So I like to do everything like a month in advance, so that I hate deadlines. I don't like to be caught off guard by them.
So because you guys seem to have really sort of mastered the collaborative process over massive distances. I mean, Eddie, you're in Washington. I'm on the East Coast. Teresa's in Spain. We are dealing right now with about 10 different time zones in between us. Can you just give any tips and pointers for people who are trying to figure out the collaborative process, especially across such a disparate time?
Well, I'm always amazed by it. I'm amazed by just what you said there. It's really unique and different, and it takes a lot of learning. Just communicating sometimes is the most difficult thing to do. Teresa has a video on this, I think, online, so I'm sure she can explain it a lot better than I could.
Well, I'm used to, I don't know, I think there are several things. For me, the most important thing is that the communication style is the same, and it's not even the language, it's not even the time difference. I don't think any of that really matters, because at the end of the day, if I send you a message at 1 p.m. my time, you will read it in 6 hours at 1 p.m. So it's not so traumatic unless you're in a very tight deadline. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a procrastinator when it comes to overseas projects. But then if the communication style doesn't fit, if the person is very dry, for example, I have problems with people that are very dry. Mm-hmm. People that instead of saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's not possible," they say no. I don't know why, but that just is not my style. So I think if you're reading the messages and you're feeling like you don't like this person, probably is the communication style. Is not that is a bad person, but it's not going to work. That's my experience. So if you're reading the messages and you think, oh, this is a person I could hang out with, this seems like a nice person, I understand what they're saying, then that for me is the most important thing over distance and over language or whatever, because at the end of the day, we have enough tools to get over those barriers. But when it comes to interpersonal communication, I don't think we have that many tools, especially not online.
Well, yeah, I'm a very sarcastic person, and that's always the most difficult. And sarcasm doesn't always translate well sometimes. So I'm always finding myself frustrated with that. So
this is hitting straight into the collaborative process, period. One of the things I like with anthologies is it gives a lot of people the chance to work with people for the very first time to see if they want to work with said person ever again. Because you generally have a little bit easier deadlines, but they're still there. And you can actually see, is someone a bit too dry and short for your liking, or are they sending you an email almost every day asking for updates? I know Teresa and Eddie get to deal with daily updates from me right now.
Yeah.
So we will see if they ever want to come back for book 3 of the anthologies.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, I wanted to give Teresa an opportunity to talk about this because we did. She had an amazing response to this. Each and every one of these creators, spoilers on Eddie's face, are very much white. And in this time, you want to actually have that conversation talking about what could be perceived as cultural appropriation. A bunch of white creators, white publishers, and editors doing something from the Far East, which can be very amazing with inspiration, but it can feel like appropriation. But then, Teresa, I was talking with you about this earlier, and you had an amazing response to it. I want you to just explain and explore.
Yeah, this is something that actually Eddie brought up when we were discussing, because originally it was going to be like a different type of dog, and I was going to do a medieval type European setting. But my neighbor has an Akita Inu. That's a Japanese dog. I think it's really cute. And I was looking at European breeds of dogs, and they all look very menacing in general. Like, especially if you look at, I don't know, like I was looking at German Shepherds and Belgian Shepherds and Dobermans and things like this. And I was like, oh my God, they don't look anything like what I have in mind. And then I thought about the Akita Inu, and I thought about doing it in a Japanese style. And I did the research and everything. And I went back to Eddie and I said, are you comfortable with doing it with in a Japanese setting, in a medieval Japanese setting, rather than European? And he said, what about cultural appropriation? Wouldn't this be a problem? And we did have that conversation at that point. And what I said to him, and what I maintain at this point, is that cultural appropriation is about stealing the culture of marginalized peoples and disenfranchised people. It's like, for example, going to the gypsies and stealing their music or their dancing. And they are not monetizing that. They're not getting any report for that. You're taking that and you're monetizing it and using it for your own benefit, and not giving any credit or any opportunities for that marginalized culture to express that culture in their own way. But when it comes to comics, and when it comes to Japanese comics, I think they're, I don't know if this is a fact or just a perception, I think they're pretty much the biggest comic industry in the planet. And I think they capitalize quite a lot their culture and their medieval culture with the samurais and the ninjas and all these things. So I don't feel like I am a superior culture or a colonial culture coming to get their culture and steal it for profit. In this case, they are the culture that they are a culture that are at the same level. We are not oppressing the Japanese at this point in time, anyway. And they are. I mean, that's my view. I think it is a way of sharing and exploring other people's cultures. And if we're going to be scared of just portraying other cultures in our comics, I think that's not a very good place to be.
That is absolutely correct. I get worried personally, but that's because I am white American. So when it comes to appropriating and oppressing Japan, I'm like, there are still people that remember.
Oh yeah, it wasn't that long ago, actually.
Spanish, definitely not.
No, that particular nation we did not oppress and colonize.
But I like actually being able to have these conversations, which is very much what Why Faith and Commandment and Arcane Industries is supposed to be about. It is things that can initially make us uncomfortable. I still think one of the greatest comics of all time is Full Metal Alchemist, and it very much is a Japanese woman saying, I'm going to take from German culture and Christian culture and medieval, and we're just going to have a smorgasbord, and it's going to be amazing. And I'm like,
Yeah, and Attack on Titan more recently, right?
yes.
It's all German people, basically. They even have German names.
And what else? My Hero Academia is a Japanese inspired by Marvel and DC. Let's be perfectly frank. America didn't invent the superhero, but we definitely were the ones that popularized it. And they come out with My Hero Academia, and America's response is, please just put them out faster.
Yeah. I think if it's done with respect, and if it's done without the intention of, this is exotic, we're going to exploit it because this is something that people are going to find exotic, without the respect that comes from, we understand that this is the medieval Japanese setting, that these were warriors akin to our knights. And, I did some research. I'm not an expert on it, but I did some research and I understood more or less what the idea was. And I didn't do it just to make the comic more, to orientalize the comic, so to speak. I didn't do it with that intention. I did it because Akita Inus are Japanese dogs, and I thought it made sense.
Yes. And I think that's what we want to talk about when we get into appropriation versus inspiration. It's how are we able to talk with said cultures, have real conversations, and respect versus taking and going, Native Americans, this headdress seems fascinating. I want it in here because it's going to look cool. And that would be going in the exact wrong direction. All right. So for the Great Commandment, this entire anthology is about interpretation, personal exploration, and taking external ideas and commands and personally interpreting them. And we're actually going to break that right now, and because we have the creators right here. And so for Warrior Breed, I want to ask both of you what you want others to take from this particular piece or from this anthology, maybe even from this year. What do you want people to take in terms of message, inspiration, even feeling?
I think that's an Eddie question because he's the writer.
Well, honestly, I wanted to tell a nice, sweet little story. I like cute stories. Sometimes that's what you like to read. Sometimes you want to read that, and I did my best to have meaning in it. I split up. It's split up in two halves. You have more of a war-driven half of it, and you got more of a love-driven half, and it's pretty much like they're two sides of the same coin. They're very, very parallel. Both stories are somewhat parallel. They're the inverse of each other, and so that's where I try to put meaning into it. So the meaning is not so much on the surface. The meaning is buried within. So I guess it'd be if someone enjoyed reading a nice little story, they could pull something like that from it. I guess that's my answer.
Wonderful. And
I hope it's wonderful. I'm doing my best.
You're doing great, Eddie. Teresa, do you want to add to this?
I think that's a very good answer. And if anything else, I would say that maybe the fact that an animal is in a story doesn't mean that the story is about animals, or, that it because there is an anthropomorphic animal, it's not some weird fairy story, because I think people have this conception that whenever there are animals in a story, this is not for me because it's probably, you know, something weird. I want to take anthropomorphic animals out of the ghetto of of comics.
One of my favorite comics right now that I wish he actually would go back to is The Autumn Lands by Kurt Busiek. It is an anthropomorphic animal world that gets its first human. And it's very much like what Eddie's talking about, high fantasy, cities floating above the clouds, a strict regimented magical system that is starting to fail, but it's so much fun just delving into each of them. And that's actually a bit like what you get here with Warrior Breed. You get a very fun, compelling story that is at its core personally reflective on what one is supposed to be doing, because one cares so much about family and home. So now we get to what I like to call the QVC portion of this, because we are talking about a comics anthology that is on Kickstarter right now. And I am so happy I get to say this. In 3 days, we've raised over $2,000 from 59 amazing backers. We are currently sitting at 2,307. We are hoping to reach 5,000 by the end of this campaign. And if you like what we are talking about here, if you want to see a Samurai Akita, ninja cat, and the art of war, and a truly heartwarming story about protection, honor, and family, you want to get the Great Commandment, and it is available. You want to get more stories from Eddie Headington? He is actually in Why Faith, which is also available in our campaign. You can get deluxe version of the Great Commandment, which will get more artwork and more behind the scenes work, things you do not want to miss out on. Excellent. So I believe that is near the end of this. Is there anything else you two want to add?
No, just go back. The project is it has digital copies for those of you living overseas, which is very important given shipping prices.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you, Jack, for making me a part of this and your last project. It's been a very good experience working with you on both these projects. And it's been awesome working with you, Teresa. It's too bad that this is the closest we can get to speaking in person.
Yeah.
One of these days. One of my favorite conventions that I've ever been to was actually in London. They had the London Film and Comic Con. And that one, when you have 40,000 people jam-packed in there, and every Doctor Who that was still alive.
Yeah.
That's one of those experiences that you do not forget. All right. So that is who we are. Please back the Great Commandment Comics Anthology on Kickstarter right now. Follow Graduation Nightmares. It is completely free with webcomics. Buy up every single one of Eddie's books. And thank you so much, dear watcher. If you're watching this not live and you want to add some questions or comments, please do so below. We will try to answer them in our next video. Next time, I will be speaking with artist Kevin Nicklaus. And have a wonderful weekend. Thank you. Take care, and God bless.